In today's video, we'll be drawing a neo-traditional style shark. Hey guys, welcome back to another video. I'm Daggett, this is Daggett Designs, and like I said, in today's video, we'll be drawing a neo-traditional style shark. Now, if you're a regular viewer on my channel and you know you're going to love today's video, make sure you smash that like button and leave me a comment down below before the video starts, letting me know what kind of content you want to see on my channel. Now, that's pretty much all I have to say for this one, so let's get straight into today's video by going to the overhead. Alright guys, welcome back to the table, and we are starting off with a piece of A4 sketching paper. I have a mechanical pencil for sketching our design and an eraser in case we should need it. To start this one off, we're going to start in this sort of top right side of the page. We're going to come back with a line like this, and we're going to curl it around like that. This is going to give us a rough guideline for our body and how the body is going to bend around like this. After this, you're basically going to come from either side and add an extra portion like this. So you're going to come out, back in towards our bend, like this. As you reach our bend, you join into the line, and then you'll cross it, and just bring that line around. And from the top, you're going to do the same thing. You're going to come out, back in towards our bend, like this. Cross through that same section, and then bring that line off like this. And that's going to give you the rough body shape. To put in a rough shape for our tail, you're just going to do like a big crescent moon shape like this. So just a curved line, and then on the inside of that, another curved line, almost like you're drawing a crescent moon. For the dorsal fin, I just want to put that in now. So coming back, this whole area up here will be the face. So I'm going to come back to where our bend starts and just come up a little bit. And I'm basically going to drop in a curve line like this. And then we're going to come back and around with another curved line. So you're almost drawing half of our tail fin in this section here for our dorsal fin. And you can sort of play around with the size of it a little bit until you're happy with how it looks. But of course you can adjust this later on. Now from here we're going to work on placement for a few things. So coming towards the front of the face here, we're going to put in a mouth. And the mouth again is going to be sort of a crescent moon shape. So just coming in from this center line, you're going to curve up and back down like that with a curved line, and then above that the same sort of line, so up and back down into your body there. For the mouth section, for the eye, you're just going to come up from the top sort of lip area here, and I like to just put in a circle for the time being. Okay, next thing we're going to do is drop in a few lines for where the gills will sit. You want these to be S curves coming from the top portion of the body here, so just pretty much right behind the end of the mouth, which is like here. You're going to drop in a few S curves like this. Okay, and they're going to come back one after the other. I like to make them a little bit smaller as I come back down the body, and you can make them more or less of a curve shape by just straightening them out a little bit if you'd like. We also want to drop in a couple of the main front fins here. So just pretty much coming down from the front of our dorsal fin, coming around the body, I'm going to drop in an oval shape like this, and that'll give me placement for this fin. So we're just going to come forward and then drop down our line, and we'll smooth that out. And then from the bottom here, we can join them up with another curved line like that. And now you're going to do the same thing on the other side of the body. Now that side of the body is not visible, so you can put in an imaginary oval shape and then come out on a slightly different angle and down, and then just join those up as well. Now to start correcting this bottom part of the body, as you can see, it's a little bit too wide from our top curve there. So what I want to do is mark out the two spots where I want the tail to actually join onto the body. So I do them roughly a centimeter apart, but obviously this depends on the size of your illustration. And then you're going to bring a curve that starts where the bend in the body starts here, so just after the dorsal fin, and you're going to bring that around and to that point that we just marked out. That's going to smoothly come right around. For the other side there, you're basically going to come down from just underneath this fin, like this, looping it around to join into that point that we just marked out on the base of our tail there. Now I just want to add in a couple of the secondary fins, or the smaller fins. So we're going to do one on the base of the tail here. So just following down the center line, which is the line that we drew at the start, runs through the center of the body. And as it comes down to here, you're just going to drop in a small little curve shape, curve peak sort of shape for one of our smaller fins. And then coming a bit closer to the tail, from the top side and the bottom side, you can drop in these little curve shapes for those fins as well. While you're here, you can go ahead and start detailing out your tail a little bit. So just bringing the line up smoothly. And then as I come back down, I like to add a little bit of variation to the line and a few little sort of jagged bits in that. Alright, now to make this design a little more interesting, I want to add a harpoon that's going straight through our shark here. So I'm going to start by coming up near the mouth and adding in a circle. On the inside of that circle, I'll add another circle just to double that up. And then I'm going to take a ruler and do a straight line that comes down straight through the body of our shark there, from the center area of our circle, like that. And then you're going to go right next to it and just double up on that line. Now at the very end of our line here, I like to put in this little spike shape, which is like the head, the arrowhead on the harpoon. And then on the other end, we're going to add a little bit of rope. So I'm just going to basically add in this little curved line like this. And I'm going to have that go up and inside the mouth. And then we'll have it come out the other side like that. And you want to just double up on that line, because we'll be turning that into a rope later on. To start adding some of our details, we're basically going to start off with our eye here. What I like to do is strengthen up my circle a little bit. Then I'm going to come from the back with a little loop that's going to come forward over the top of our eye and just flick off towards the front. You can add a couple of small lines on the inside of this just to add a little bit more of that detail and a little bit more texture and line work. For the mouth section, we're going to start adding in some teeth. Now these are just rows of teeth, so you're basically just going to do little curved peaks that come all the way around the outside portion of your mouth and the inside area of the mouth as well. You're going to bring them all the way around. On the bottom side, or the bottom lip, you're going to do the same thing coming up. Now there will be some gums visible on the top sort of section here. So I like to sort of double up a line above the teeth like this. And you can waver it a little bit to give it a bit of texture. And then just above that, I like to add in these little ridges. So just a couple of little curved lines that come around, just following the contour of the top lip there to add a few ridges. And then of course you can come off and up into our nose. Now of course the gums on the bottom side are going to be pretty much obscured. So just drawing a curved line that comes around like that. And I like to sort of double up on that outside area there to add a little bit more flesh to that side. You can bring a line up the other side to sort of mirror it, and then just bring that down. Now for the line that comes across the top, you don't want it to be completely smooth. I like to basically come up towards the eye, add a little bit of a bump, right? A little bit of a line that comes out a little bit where the eye is, and it dips back in slightly before coming back out into our nose there. This will just give the head a little bit more of a realistic shape, and it'll give it a little bit more texture and character. For each of the gills, I like to double up on these with a bit of a M curve on the outside of these lines. So just double up on those lines, but put in a little bit of an M in the center of each of them. Now to add a little bit of detail to each of the fins, what I like to do is start the top off with a nice solid line that comes out. And then on the way back in, you can pretty much add in these little triangle shapes, okay, like this. And this will make the fins look a little bit tattered and a little bit damaged, almost like battle-worn fins, as though he's been in a few fights. I just think this looks cool, and I think it adds a little bit more to our design here. So just coming forward with our front fin with a solid line like this. Coming back and adding in a few of those little bits of just added texture and detail as we bring that around. And then we can join up the belly on this side because it goes behind that front fin and loops all the way around. Now I also like to put in these little gray lines. And what I mean by gray is really light lines that pretty much double up on the top of my fins. So you're just tracing just underneath the top line of your fins and your tail with these gray lines. And when we go ahead and outline these, you can either do them in gray or you can do them with a really thin fine liner. Now for detailing the rope, you're pretty much going to add, I like to add the couple of rings to the inside of our circle there, so it looks like it's tied on. And then we have it trailing through the mouth of our shark. And you're basically gonna just do little S-curves. Okay, I wanted to take a minute to show you guys how to do the ropes. This is going to be the same method that I use to do ropes, whether I'm doing traditional designs or Japanese designs. It's a bit hard to show at that size, so I'm going to do a nice big example. So let's say we have an S-curve with another S-curve parallel to it. The way we're going to make this look like, rope, like fibrous rope, is basically to do these big S-curves. So we have an S-curve like that. And then you're going to start at the belly of the first S-curve here. And you're going to do another S-curve, which touches the base of the first S-curve and comes down. And then if you repeat that process, they all link into each other. Like this. So now you're drawing these little S-curves that all link into each other, and you can see that it looks like a piece of braided rope. And then to end my ropes, usually what I'll do is just add these little flicky lines at the end, and that kind of looks like the frayed end of the rope. But that's basically how you're going to do the rope that is coming off the harpoon. Alright, once you've done the rope, there's a couple more things to do. We're going to add a bit of a pattern to the sort of upper side or the top of our shark. So just coming from the front of the mouth here, I'm going to start going up towards the center point where the eye is. And we're basically going to come forward, marking off the top section of our shark there. Coming down the back and through the center of the gills. And coming down to our curve section. You only want this to sort of apply to the top portion of your shark. So I like to just shade that area with my pencil to help separate it from the rest of the body there. And you can do that for the top fin, the entire top fin. On top of your front fins here, you can have that same sort of pattern, just coming down the top section of your front fins, about halfway down. And you can shade those in gray if it helps you. Now this is the belly portion of our shark coming around. So you're going to come around to the top portion where it would curve back around. And add a little bit of that pattern before coming down onto the tail. And for the tail, I think we're going to have the bottom portion fully patterned, and it'll sort of start wearing towards the top like this. So this section at the top of the tail here, or the top of the body there, onto the bottom of the tail and coming up towards the tip of the tail. And you can basically add a jagged texture to this, and when we color it in, that'll look really cool. So what I'm doing here is I'm just going ahead and adding in some Japanese style finger waves. Although a lot of traditional tattoos will have waves in them as well, American traditional style stuff. And they're actually drawn quite similar no matter what style of tattooing that you're doing. American traditional, Japanese, neo-traditional. They're all sort of drawn similar to finger waves. I just find the Japanese ones to be a little bit more expressive sometimes. And you can play around with their shape a little bit more. Sometimes make them more interesting. But anyways, we're doing Japanese finger waves for this one. It is a neo-traditional design, so we're taking a bit of influence from different places for this one. And if you don't already know how to do Japanese style finger waves, there is a video in the description. I'll leave a link in the description for that one, so that you can go ahead and learn how to draw these. Now, I know I'm not going into full detail on how to draw the finger waves in this one. I will give you a brief sort of overview. You're basically doing big C shapes, big letter C shapes, elongated C shapes, and then you're basically doubling up on those lines and widening your taper as you come back. And that creates each finger of your wave. And then you could just pretty much add variations to these shapes to change them and make them look a little bit different as you go through and add your different wave shapes. But like I said, there'll be a link in the description with a full tutorial on finger waves. Now, I just want to take a moment to let you guys know that the class notes for this design are available in the class notes folder. If you're not a member of my channel memberships yet, make sure you hit the link in the description so that you can sign up and become a member to get these class notes and many other perks. Now, in terms of doing the sketch for this one, that is pretty much finished. I'm going to go ahead and transfer this one to some watercolor paper so that we can get into painting. Alright, as you can see, I've gone ahead and outlined our design, transferring it over to some watercolor paper. I used a 1.2 size nib for the entire outer line, with the exception of that fin, which is sort of off in the background a little bit. I used a 0.5 for most of the smaller lines, including the waves, the teeth, and our rope there, and also the harpoon. And I've gone ahead and used a red fine liner to do some of this ketchup coming out of his mouth. Okay, so I've used a red fine liner for that, and I've also used a 0.01 to do these really fine lines across the top of the body there for our pattern work. Now, as always, we are using Liquitex acrylic inks to paint our design, and I have preloaded my palette here. So I've got a blue black, which is a combination of our carbon black and phthalo blue. I have a light gray wash, which is black diluted with water. I have yellow orange azo, or as I like to call it, golden yellow. I have a bit of transparent raw umber, which we're going to use for our rope. And I've also got some pyrrole red. Along with this, I've got my two brushes. I've got an inking brush and a blending brush. These are Taklon synthetic brushes, number 5 and a number 6. And I also have a glass of water, which will be used for washing out the brushes. So to start this one off, we're actually going to go in and do the waves in the background first, using some light grey wash. So going in with my blending brush, it's a larger brush and we're trying to cover a larger area. We're going to go in and do our waves. Now I'm going to do this the same way that I would do Japanese finger waves. That's basically what they are. I'm going to basically start dark at the base and go light towards the tips of the fingers there. Now, of course, we're using a fairly light grey wash anyways, but you can use a bit of water to blend it, move it around on the page, and dilute it even more to get lighter tones and values. Now, as I approach areas like this little dip here, I like to start dark again, and that way it has a little bit of sort of layering effect to where the wave sort of is crashing over the top of itself, and that bottom portion there would be a little bit darker. And as you come up into the finger areas, I like to make it a lot lighter. So we'll start with this little section here, coming in with a bit of our darker grey, working that in. And as we come up towards this portion of fingers, I'll get some water, dilute that grey really heavily. And then we want to be white right up into those tips there. So you can see it goes from dark to a medium sort of grey in the base of the wave there. And then as it comes up into those fingers, that's the white wave section where it crashes off. We're going to do that with a nice light area. So I'll do that for all the areas of wave, starting with a little bit of a darker grey towards the base, and pretty much any point that it overlaps with another section of wave, like this. And then with some water, diluting that out to a lighter grey as we come through the wave. And then diluting that even more up into the tips of our waves where we want them to be white. Alright, next thing we're going to do from here is go into our blue black and start our black shading, I guess we'll call it. And we're going to go ahead and pretty much just do the pattern portion, or whatever we're going to call it, the dark portion on top of our shark body there. And we're going to do that by adding black to the line and blending backwards towards the curvature of the body, and also for the fins. So I'm going to start up here at the nose, and I'm pretty much going to add our blue-black color going all along our line there, like that. We'll start with a small section, and then with our blending brush, we'll blend that up a little bit, and it should take on a blue-gray color. And then you can blend that off completely to white at the very top there. So you're basically going to come along the line that we drew of sort of pattern work, adding your blue-black, as much or as little as you would like to put, feathering it off so that it hits that nice blue-gray, and then really softening that top edge of it up to white there. Okay. Now once you reach this back fin, you're basically going to leave that little top bit where we did that little grey wash line, or that really thin line. You're going to leave that white, come straight off the back of the body there with our blue-black. And I want to bring that nearly all the way across my fin shape like this. And as we reach the back portion of the fin, we're going to feather that out to blue or blue-gray, and then just gently blend that down to white before you reach the very end of that fin. For the fin that's slightly in the background, I'm only going to use a really little amount of our blue-gray at the very tip of our fin, and then we're going to work that back mostly with water. I want to have a little bit more of a diluted tone in the back here. This fin is going to be slightly in the background, I guess, and that's why we've used thinner line work for it. We're trying to push it back and bring this side of the body forward a little bit. It's also probably sitting behind some water or something like that, so I like to try and have a lighter tone on that section. Okay, now that I've finished the blue-black sort of section for the pattern work there, it's looking really nice. I've washed out both of my brushes, and I'm actually going to go back into my light grey wash to do some sections on the belly and the body of the shark. So basically, we're going to take some of our grey wash, and I'm going to come off the central line. So we've got that center line on the belly. I'm going to come off that line with a bit of our grey wash, and then gently work that back across the belly, having it lighten up to white before we hit our pattern there on the back. And we're going to pretty much do that down the length of the center of the body there, using our light grey tone. Off the other side of our belly, we're going to do the same thing, but you're going to leave a little white strip down the very center. So just coming down the other side as well, but leaving a little bit of white down the very center there as you blend it out. This will contrast nicely and still give it a little bit of shading and dimension. Coming in behind the eye with a bit of our grey and blending it forward towards the front of our head. And I'll also come in from the top of the tail with some of our grey and blend that back. Alright, I've washed my brushes out again, and this time we are going to go into some of our yellow-orange azo. We're using that for the eye and also for the harpoon. So we'll start by just doing the eye. I think in this one, we're just going to do solid yellow and leave a little bit of a highlight towards the front section of our eye there by just leaving a little white circle at the front. And for the harpoon, I'm going to come in from the bottom where it goes into the body there, and I'm going to blend that up towards the back of the harpoon, or the sort of ring of the harpoon there. Do a little bit of yellow at the very top and blend that around. This will hopefully give it a bit of a metallic look. And coming in from the tip of the harpoon with a bit of our yellow as well, and just blending that back. Okay, I've washed my brush out again. We're going into our raw umber. We're using that for our rope. There's going to be no special method for doing this. A really simple wash over the top of our rope there. It is a transparent color, and it's sort of a brown color. So it's going to give us the appearance of rope. And because it's got that transparency to it, you don't really need to worry about muting your lines at all. So you don't really need to do too much blending, especially on a portion of the design that's this small. I'm just going to do a straight raw umber wash over the top of the rope. Alright, now before I continue, I just put out a little drop of plain carbon black because I forgot to do the shading on the inside of the mouth. So just coming in from the back of the mouth with a bit of plain carbon black. Now you got to be really careful here because we've got a lot of small teeth. So just coming in between those teeth as best as you can go ahead and blend this out. Now I've washed my brush out again and we're going into our Pyrrole red. Now there's a few different parts of solid red and a few blended parts. So we'll start with the solid areas. That little bit behind the eye there, the little loop, I'm going to do that solid red like this. And also the gills. We're going to go inside each of the gills and do those a solid red. We're also going to do solid red pretty much for the inside of the mouth, coming in over the top of our black shading, over the top of our grey shading, and forward into the open section of our mouth. You do want to be careful not to go over your teeth too much here. Just being careful and trying to work around your teeth as best as possible. Now you're going to take a little bit of that Pyrrole red, come in above the teeth with it, and then you're going to gently blend that down towards the teeth. Now you've got to be really careful here. You don't want to get too much red on the teeth there. So just coming in with a little bit of the Pyrrole red at the top and blending it down. This will give the appearance of pink, you know, like a dark pink for the gums. Now I'm also going to do a small section of red, almost like a glow, just behind where our harpoon comes out here. So just a little bit of red like that, and feathering that out nicely, and blending that out to a white. And then coming to the other side and doing the same thing, just a little bit of red, feathering it out, and then blending it to white as best as you can. Alright, now this last part is absolutely optional, but I'm going to go ahead and do it. We're going to take some red and just put it into the well next to it, so there's not too much. Just transferring a little bit of that pigment. And then we're going to take our blending brush into a bit of water and dilute that red down. And then you can take a little bit of that diluted red and you're going to do some staining around the mouth. Just adding little sections of this sort of light red tone around the mouth. Now doing these little bits of this red wash here is where I feel like this falls into more of a neo-traditional style in terms of how we've colored it. You're adding these little bits of sort of detail that, you know, normally wouldn't be there if this was more of a traditional style design, but I think it looks really cool, and like I said, adds a little bit more of that neo-traditional style to it, along with our line work and just the way that we've drawn this one. And I'm going to be honest in saying this is probably one of my favorite designs that I've done on this channel. I think it turned out really cool, and I think it's got some really nice elements to it, and it has that cool neo-traditional style to it as well, while still, you know, including some traditional elements like the finger waves and a little bit of that sort of traditional Japanese style to it. So you guys will have to let me know in the comments section down below what you thought of today's video, and if you'd like me to do similar designs to this one. Anyways, that's it for this video, guys. I really hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Keep up the drawing. Bye-bye. If you like the content that I make and you'd like to support the channel, make sure you smash that like button. And hey, while you're at it, check out one of these other great videos.